Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Ohio State call-in show. It is normally me and Jack, or me and Zach. I must have said Jack. That's actually my son's name. And it's normally me and Zach, but today we have Juck from Juck on Bucks with us here, good friend of the show, and we appreciate you being here, Juck. You said it was you and your wife's anniversary tonight, but you decided to spend it here with us, Buckeye fans, instead. I just want to make sure everybody knows Juck has left his anniversary to be here for the Ohio State call-in show.
Listen, it is true. It is my anniversary, but she's got pneumonia, so she's kind of laid up in bed. I have already made dinner, done all my husbandly duties. I was a super good boy, so now I get to talk football.
There we go. Well, we definitely appreciate it, Juck. Everybody, I'm going to put the link for the show here in the comments. If you would like to call in, please feel free to do so. If we have a bunch of callers, we kind of limit it to like maybe 5-8 minutes per caller. If we have not very many, then we kind of let it go longer. It just kind of depends, but we'll let you know. But before we get started, Juck, I wanted to ask your thoughts on everything that's going on with this big noon kickoff discussion. And everybody, I'm about to put a poll in the chat, but this big noon kickoff discussion, everybody has so many thoughts on it. You know, Joel Klatt is out here tweeting at Ohio State fans, defending it, you know, like it's his baby at this point. I don't know, but it's all kind of crazy. Give us your thoughts. Do you think Ohio State's playing too many noon kickoff games? Do you think, no, you're not really against it? What do you think?
This is pretty loaded. Go ahead and get your poll going. I'll just roll with this one because there's a lot to get to. So I am a guy who really is into recruiting. And like, I cannot stand having so many noon kickoffs because, as you know, someone else who follows recruiting, it's just not conducive to getting the guys who are out of state to travel up when they got a high school game the night before. It's not good. And you want your biggest games in your best environments, and the best environment we can offer is obviously in the evening. Now, it's okay to have some. It's okay to have several noon games. Like, I don't mind it at all as a fan, and as a fan who's getting older, sometimes I kind of enjoy it. I also sometimes enjoy it when it's a big game and I don't have to wait all day long with the stress of not knowing what's going to happen. So sometimes it's good. But ever since Fox did this and they listen, I like what they've done. What they've done, you guys remember, there was 10 years there where that noon window was just trash games. It was like Connecticut versus Pitt. Like, it was 10 versions of Connecticut versus Pitt from 12 to 3. And then we'd start to get some action at 3. And then we'd have all the best games in prime time. And I'd be like, can we spread this out? So finally they did. But we are the ones that have been saddled with all of it, right? Like 6 straight games at noon to end the season. Are you kidding me? It's very obnoxious. I'm sick of the crew. I'm sick of Gus and Joel. I know Gus is getting a lot of crap. He definitely did not have the juice in that call. I took it as something else, JR. I think that there's sometimes Gus tries to purvey a storyline with a game. And I think what he was trying to convey with his lack of juice on Jack's call, and again, this is me giving him the benefit of the doubt because we've seen him go so far overboard at other times. I think he was trying to convey just how poor Purdue was performing and picked a really poor moment to do that in a really big moment for Jack's career. I don't think he meant it the way it came across. And that's just me giving him the benefit of the doubt, trying to think of the different ways that, maybe he could have been going about that because it just didn't feel right. It felt so out of character that I had to think he was probably doing something else. But definitely Joel with his comments about the Jack, the way he crapped all over the Jack. Now they're into social media because Joel had said earlier that other fan bases were not happy with Gus calling Ohio State the world famous. So that was a big thing after the Penn State game on social media. So he made a comment about that. I believe that he knows Ohio State fans and the Ohio State community in general has been clamoring for the Jack position forever. And as soon as they played it, he wanted to make sure he could get his pot shots at it to say, look, you guys are wrong. 4 plays, 2 of them really poorly executed. We had a missed tackle. We had a ball go out to the side out of 4 plays, a sweep way around the end. And he's trying to make it sound like it was all the fault of the Jack with a bunch of backups in. and point the finger and say, look how dumb you guys are. I mean, I'm telling you, the guy has turned. He used to be, it felt like, an Ohio State guy, man. He was like kind of a voice for Ohio State out there. And he has just done a total 180. First, it started with the Michigan stuff. And ever since then, I think we all collectively probably got on him a little hard. And he has gotten a hardened edge when it comes to Ohio State. So you add that on to the irritation with the consistent noon games. And we've just got some bad chemistry going with these guys right now. It's very apparent. I see it everywhere. You're seeing it all day.
Yeah, I was one of the first ones that was tweeting about Gus and his call about Jack, and I've been tweeting about Gus, a good amount ever since Nebraska. I felt like there's been a few calls toward the beginning of the game. That was the first time I complained that, that late in the game, but I just knew how big of a moment it was for Jack. And you look at just how juiced Jack is and the entire team for him and everything, like, no mention of Jack Sawyer, the hometown kid. His first, I didn't need Gus to go crazy and be like, Justice Jack, or like give him a nickname or anything like that. I don't know. It's just off the top of my head. I didn't need him to do something like that, but something of like, did you do your homework? Jack Sawyer's never had a touchdown in Ohio Stadium before. He's a hometown kid. He came back, left money on the table at the NFL. Like, just give us the story, at least. Give us kind of the insight, help people understand if they don't understand. I know you and I understand, Juck. You talk about it on your show all the time. We're like the, 1%ers, 2%ers, you call it? Like
0.002%ers. Me, you, and all these folks here.
Exactly. We get it, but who knows? They're, my parents, they watch, but they don't know that stuff nearly as much as other people do. So it would have been a cool moment. And then as far as I'm concerned with Joel, man, I think he is one of those people that he just pays attention to the noise too much. I think he pays attention to social media and all that stuff way too much. Even myself, I have a super small podcast, and I have few fans that follow me close at all. But even I have to turn off the notifications and the noise and stuff too much sometimes, because I can't go out there responding to every single person. And when you got the Buckeye fan base on you about, you're supporting the cheaters and all this other stuff and everything, you're going to feel it a lot. And I think that Joel has just gotten to that point where he feels it a lot.
I think you're absolutely right. And I bet that Gus regrets the choice he made in that moment. I really think he does. He seems like quite a solid dude. And he's never the one that's irritating me of that crew. Other than some of his calls, I find a little bit much, but that's just my personal preference. I know my kids love it. They love it. So,
and I think like sometimes, we look at the Maserati Marv, right? That got talked about a lot last year, right? Like Maserati Marv. And to me, I did think it was overblown a little bit, but at a certain point I was like, look, this is just Gus being Gus, like you either like Gus or you don't like Gus. And at this point, like, he's just being who he is. So even though I did feel like it was kind of overblown, I was also like, he is who he is. He's playing the character. He's doing the thing that he normally does. I can't get mad at the guy for being who he is. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So, all right, everybody. The link is in the chat. So if you want to take this any certain way, I'll post it again one more time. But if you guys want to take this any certain way, you can feel free to call in and talk with me and Juck about whatever your thoughts are. You want to talk big noon kickoff? You want to talk about the Purdue game? You want to talk about, I don't know, keys to the game with Northwestern? Feel like key to the game is don't run out of the end zone and hit the wall with how close
the brick wall.
Did you see that photo of how close everything is, man?
It's ridiculous, dude. It's so close. But the biggest thing, JR, do you remember last year when Iowa and Northwestern were playing, the pictures of the big clumps that were popping up from, they laid sod over the infield? Obviously, it's got no time to take root at this time of year. It's just going to do the same thing. We're going to see big chunks of clumps coming up. It's terrible.
That's quite the statement there by Fisherman. He says Northwestern equals Michigan. Oh boy, Juck, how fun would it be if Northwestern wins that game and they're not eligible? Oh, I would be in heaven.
I was thinking, so I keep going in my head, like, as the season's gone, and I'm just like, okay, well, now the best they can do is 8-4. Now the best they can do is 7-5. And a couple weeks ago, I'm like, man, these guys are going to go 6-6. And I had just thought, like, the Northwestern one's a layup. But I've been thinking about it this week. I don't think it is so much of a layup. I think we'll get a better gauge on that this weekend. But that would just be amazing. I would just love it so much because and I know that they talked all off season. They thought it was just going to keep rolling. And it was so ridiculous. They called us all idiots. By the way, they hate Tony Alford now, just like we told them they would.
Mm-hmm. I got on a Michigan show, actually the one here at Voice of College Football, and I asked them what they thought about him, and it was earlier on in the season, and they weren't too upset with him. But I think they're discovering a little bit more of it now than maybe they were at the beginning. Fisherman, I did see that about the numbers. We'll look at the numbers in just a moment, but we do have a guest here with us. We have Terry Davis, who is an IU fan. Correct, Terry? Terry, you there?
Yeah, I am here, JR. Can you hear me?
All right. Yep, we can hear you.
All right. Well, let me I am an IU fan, yes. I think I have to turn off the other audio.
You sound okay right now, so all right, if you start sounding bad, we'll let you know.
No, I had YouTube playing in the background, and I think I was getting double audio or something.
Gotcha.
So I just joined, so I'm not sure what you have or haven't talked about. Thanks for letting me come on. This is a really cool idea. Wish more streamers did it. But you probably have to be careful because people are crazy.
We've had one instance where a guy came on and said some nasty stuff, but we got rid of him right away, and we moved on pretty quick. So
I know you're an OSU guys, and so I wanted to say up front, I've been watching you for a while. I really wanted to thank you for giving IU a fair shake all year. I thought it was you're probably the only streamer out there that I've been listening to that wasn't like, this is smoke and mirrors. This is eventually everyone did kind of come around, but you guys were like, you especially JR, you were like the first to go, no. These guys are legit. I watched their games, So I wanted to say thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I'll be honest. I've watched more Indiana football than maybe any other non-Indiana fan. In fact, my brother-in-laws are both Indiana football fans. I think I've watched more than them the past 2 or 3 years. So I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of what a good Indiana program looks like versus a bad Indiana program. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was freaking out with that one day where you said on your stream, you're like, yeah, I live like, I don't know, you said very close to IU. I can't remember.
Yeah, I live right outside of Bloomington.
Yeah, I was like, why aren't you an IU fan? But I do know
Columbus,
why, because
can't deny what's in my blood.
Well, not only that, but it's hard for I'm 54, right? So I at least remember when IU had some good teams. I watched Anthony Thompson run, and I watched Bill Mallory kind of build things to where they were you weren't ashamed of them anyways. They were never Ohio State or Michigan, but you weren't ashamed of them. And then it kind of fell into what it was. So I'm sure during your generation coming up, it was like, oh my God, who would cheer for them? So I get it. But I did kind of find that interesting. I was like, wow, he lives that close. Holy cow.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, we're going to come to Columbus in a couple of weeks. After seeing the Michigan game, I know you were at least saying outwardly that you're like, I'm not sure we can beat them. Now, are you like, oh yeah, we're going to beat them? Or is it like, still not sure?
I'll be honest. I feel slightly better in some areas because Indiana's offense did not look as unstoppable as it kind of first did, right? I mean, This is the offense that is number one in scoring touchdowns in the nation. They have one of the best red zone scoring percentages in the nation. They're right up there in the percentages of scoring touchdowns in the red zone with Ohio State. There's a lot of things they do really well. And everybody wants to say it's the schedule, but you still have to play quality football even against a non-quality schedule. And so for me, I do feel a little bit better about the offense than I did, but I'd go back to what I said on the Big Ten Huddle, which is they did what they had to do to win the game, right? They got 16 yards, 18 yards in the second half before that final drive,
right? And
they still won the game. Now, Michigan's coaching is awful. That helps, but still, you did what you were supposed to do to win the game, and so I still don't know what I'm going to pick. I'm leaning Ohio State, but at the end of the day, I still think this is a dangerous Indiana team that you have to be prepared for because they're confident. Any team that's confident, I feel like you have to be prepared for. Juck, I'm going to get your thoughts because I've been covering the Big Ten. I'm obviously, a little bit more afraid of Indiana, I think, than some Ohio State fans are. What's your thoughts on IU, Juck?
I felt very similar to you up until Saturday. I was very much like, this offense is the type of offense that makes us want to tear our hair out as Buckeye fans. And I was saying the same stuff as you. Guys, listen, these dudes are going to come in and be a pain in the keister. And don't take it for granted that we're just going to have, they're going to walk in and we're going to walk all over them. But I had the caveat that I want to see him play Michigan. I want to see him play that very average Michigan team. And I want to see if they can handle 4 quarters with Michigan. And they couldn't. They couldn't, man. The second half, you can't hang with them. And there's no chance they're going to hang with Ohio State after seeing that. I'm sorry. That's my opinion, brother.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, you being wrong isn't new. I was thinking that most people are saying that, and not just Ohio State people, but just nationwide people are saying that.
That's because it's the truth.
But the truth is that if Surratt doesn't drop 2 balls, we blow them out. We beat them by 21 or more, and that's the truth. If he catches those 2 balls, that's 14 points right there that are off the board. And not only that, but then Michigan really has to start doing things they are uncomfortable with, like always throwing the ball and no run game. So it's probably going to be another interception. So in my mind, he makes those 2 catches. It's a completely different game.
If those things happened, yeah.
You know,
they didn't.
I mean, people drop balls. I mean, it's not like.
Yeah, they're going to. Yes, they do. Every game. That's why there's nothing unique about it.
Actually, but it is unique in our case because we haven't really done that all year. That's the first time all year that we haven't came up clutch when we needed to come up clutch. And so, I mean, that's
it's
just
the first time you played anybody with a pulse.
You haven't beat a team with a winning record.
You haven't beat a team with a winning record.
Nebraska, neither of you, other than Penn State.
Other than a top 5 team, no, we haven't.
You didn't beat them though, JR. You played them. You didn't beat them.
I know. I'm just saying we played them and we played them really close.
Honestly, I honestly think you're a better team than Oregon, to be honest with you.
Thanks, Terry.
But no, I do because I mean Oregon. I just you played there. You had to travel out there. They've got this crazy time difference. So you're playing. It just on neutral field. I'd take Ohio State easy in that game. Not even close. But the thing with me is that with Indiana, when we go to Ohio State. Those guys are coming, and so many people talk about, oh, he's got these transfers, and they can. Yeah, he does have transfers, but you got to think 10 of them, at least, really more. He's coached for 4 years, right? For 4 years, he's been telling them they don't think you're good enough, but you are good enough because I think you're good enough. So you don't think they do anything for that guy? I just think I think they're gonna just go crazy when it comes to. I really do. I just think they're just gonna go absolutely crazy. And that's why I've said to you all year, Jared, they've got things you can't measure with a stopwatch or tape measure. That's to me, that's why they are who they are.
Yeah, I think that, like I mentioned, the confidence factor and the discipline factor as well. We look at Iowa teams for how many years where they were able to be a disciplined football team and win games, not just because of good coaching, but also the discipline of their players. And so for me, I look at this Indiana team and say they have those things that you need that when there is a talent deficiency and not just talent, like I talked about D'Angelo Ponce. I think he's super talented, but he's 5'9", 5'10".
Right. He doesn't make the measurables or that's the story I mean with all talent. These guys, these guys they are, like you say, they're all very talented, but they were always, did you know that there are 44 kids on Indiana's team who came out of high school as 0 stars? 0 stars.
Wow.
Right. Name the last undefeated team this deep in the season that had that many 0 stars on their team. Never. I don't know the answer, but it has to be never. I mean, it really does. So these kids all got something to prove. And Ohio State is everything that embodies that. It is the elite of the elitist, so to speak. I mean, it's we're so much better than you. And we felt it for so long.
Bro.
I mean,
I will say though, Terry, we have been better. I'm not trying to be an arrogant
you're right.
Fan, but we have been better than everybody in the Big Ten for a long time.
Right.
It took totally a team cheating to win the Big Ten, multiple years in a row. So
you're right. I mean, you got nothing. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from you. You've been everything that you've proclaimed that you were the whole time. I mean, I'm not saying that was not true. I'm just saying if someone stomps you down, no matter what it is you're doing in life, at your job or whatever, sooner or later you're going to see them as the villain. even though they're probably not really a villain, you know?
Yeah.
And that's to me, it's not necessarily Ohio State for these kids, but it's just the establishment, quote unquote, of college football. It's like you've told us since high school, we weren't supposed to be here. We weren't good enough. We weren't fast enough. We weren't tall enough. We weren't this. We weren't that. Yet here we are. Nobody's beat us, and we're coming here to kick your ass. I know that's what they're thinking in their head. They got to be. You know, and maybe they won't.
And that's what Will Howard was saying about Penn State, right? You know, that's what I don't know if you heard those quotes, Terry, but you know, we have a guy on our team now who, you know, he was going to Happy Valley and he was saying, "Hey, this is a team that never believed in me. They never thought I could do it, and now he's trying to do it." So yeah, I see what you're saying. There's always going to be that villain kind of rival aspect with the team that is on top. It seems like,
Yep, and so that I'm clear, so that all the OSU guys that are listening can be hearing me clear. You're the more talented team. There's no question. It's not even close. So in terms of how fast you run or how high you jump and how far you throw and all those other measurable things and cone drills and whatever else you want to throw at me, no question, you're the best team on the field that day. But that's not really everything that determines it, and we'll see. And I'm anxious to find out.
Right?
Yeah,
that's why you play the game.
I mean, I've never been more excited for a college football game, and you know, because I've been saying something to you for at least 3 or 4 weeks now. You know, and I'm not on some bandwagon. I've been saying for a while now that we're going to go into Ohio State undefeated and beat you. I've been saying that, so it's not like this is a new thing. And
you've been consistent.
Consistent. So, and I'll come on if we lose. I'll come on and let you guys, you know, hammer me. That's not a problem. So I'm not, you know, but I guess it's the same way. It's the reason I do it. People are like, man, why are you like all in like this? It's like, because the other way is what I've been for 40 years or more.
Right.
You know, I'm tired of not being this way. I want to be this way.
I've been rooting for this story. I've been rooting for this story for people like you, but you just ruined it all for me.
I know.
You ruined it all for me, to be honest.
I did. But I'll tell you this, I've never seen, and I have to say this in all genuineness, all over the country, every fan base, like every streamer that you watch, there's always at least one of the people streaming that go, man, I'm rooting for Indiana. Not when they play us, but everything else, I'm rooting for Indiana. And that's kind of nice. You know, it's like, wow, it really was bad because now you kind of have the other team's sympathy, so to speak. But yeah, that's fine. I get it. I ruined that for you, but you know, I'm one guy. I'm not Indiana. So
well, thanks for calling in, Terry.
Glad. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Yep.
See ya. All right. Thanks to Terry for calling in. Good to get an Indiana fan perspective. We got a big game coming up against them, and I saw everybody in the chat responding and stuff. So I think it's always fun to get some, you know, a little bit of a counterpoint coming in there. So Juck, you have any thoughts off of that?
I mean, I think look, number one, we all know the schedule has been putrid, right? And we were waiting for them to play the first real opponent. And that first real opponent is a 500 Michigan team. And sure, maybe they could have beaten them by a little more if they hadn't dropped the but they did. They're in their first big game against a big time opponent. They did. They dropped those balls and they were wore out on the offensive line. 16 yards in the second half says it all to me. You know, I hope they push back and give a better game, because there's a chance that if they get blown out in Columbus, that an 11-1 Indiana misses the playoffs against a 2-loss SEC team. There's a chance that happens. And I would like to see them make the playoffs, to be honest. Like I said, I've been rooting for this story since Cignetti gave the speech and credited Jim Tressel for the 310-day speech for his idea to do that. And people were, when I played it, getting irritated. I said, guys, it's Indiana, man. Let them have some fun. So I'm happy that they're getting to experience that a guy like that, who's been a fan of Indiana for 40 years and had to deal with that crap, and he's still around and he's still a fan and rooting for him, I'm happy that he gets to experience this and potentially gets to experience it into the playoff. So it does make me happy, though. I do find it odd to be an arrogant Indiana fan. Like, that's just a little odd to me, but whatever, man. It is what it is.
Well, I tell you, after the Chris Holtmann reign in basketball, which I know this is a football show, so we won't stick on basketball for very long, but after the Chris Holtmann experience we've had the past few years in basketball, I tell you what, if Ohio State is playing Purdue in the the Big Ten championship game or something like that toward the end of the year, you best believe I'm gonna be talking all kinds of stuff because I'm not gonna have experienced a good basketball team in a long time. Terry's never experienced a good football. I guess 2020 was pretty good, but nobody could see it, right? But Terry's never experienced a good IU football team in person, so I don't blame him at all. They're having fun with it, and sometimes I think college football fans and getting super confident in our teams is just a part of the sport.
The thing is that I just I find the whole everything he said about the heart and the welcome, and how Ohio State represents the establishment. That's literally everybody in the Big Ten that plays Ohio State has that whole same spiel. You know what I mean? If you're not Michigan or Penn State, that's what you're saying. Yeah, but they're used to it. All those Buckeyes are used to it. They get everybody's best shot.
Yeah, they always get everybody's best shot. And you know what? IU fans and Ohio State fans can both be happy that Purdue's best shot was a shutout 45-0, which we'll talk about Ryan Walters here in a second. I want to talk about him and what he was doing in the game here in just a minute. But before we do that, I do want to tell everybody about the Undisputed Champions book by Mark Rogers. You see it right there. Mark Rogers. He is the one that started the voice of college football. He is the one that has given me and all of us other streamers, podcasters, stuff like that, a chance to come on and talk about the sport we love and the teams we love. So if you are somebody that you love the history of college football and the disputed championships and all this stuff, Mark has written a book on it, and I've read most of it. I haven't got all the way through it yet, but I've read most of it, and he does a fantastic job. So if you are somebody, you like kind of the old days, you like kind of reading about the controversy, everything that went on there, you will love this book. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it in bookstores. I think you can find it in bookstores. Anyway, I know Amazon, so go over to Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, get it, ship it to you, and it's not super long either. It is, I haven't seen what the last page is, 101 pages, so not long at all. It's a nice, good, quick read. You said you've ordered it, right, Juck?
I did. It should have been here by now. It's been 3 days. I ordered it. I got Mark coming on the show to talk to me about it. I can't wait. That's my kind of jam right there. I love stuff like that. So I was excited as soon as I heard him talking about it, but can't wait to read that. It's like $10. Order Mark's book, help a guy out. It's going to be an excellent book. I can't wait to get it.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. All right, Juck, you touched on your show a little bit, and I kind of want to expand on it a little bit here. So Ryan Walters comes into Ohio State. They move the ball down the field, and they are in range to go for it to try and score a touchdown. I get that Ryan Walters is probably getting fired at the end of the season. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't been fired yet. I don't know what's going on. There's all kinds of, have you heard about the controversy of what's going on?
With him taking over play calling or something?
No. Like behind the scenes.
At Purdue? No.
Oh, okay. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes. Go over to the Purdue message boards. You'll find it. Anyway.
Probably not going to do that, but I'll take your word for it.
That's fine. I just don't want to talk about it live on a stream because I feel like there could be stuff that happens. Anyway, he doesn't go for it. He kicks a field goal. He misses the field goal. And I'm with you, Juck. It just tells me how spineless a coach is and how much they don't deserve to coach in the Big Ten when they come into Ohio Stadium. They have the opportunity. They move the ball down the field. They have the opportunity to go for it, to be winning against Ohio State. The program, like Terry said, everybody is seen as the elitist and the best program, yada, yada, yada. And you kick a field goal. How much of a lame duck head coach do you have to be to, in that instance, say, field goal kicker, get out there?
I think there's something about your makeup that I just don't jive with. And if I'm the AD and I'm making a hire, this might be on my list of scenarios that I'm going to ask somebody. You know what I mean? I want to know your philosophy. You're overmatched. You're going in to play a team that is a perennial national championship contender. Are you playing for the shutout? Or are you trying to score touchdowns or trying to prevent a shutout or trying to score touchdowns and get some momentum going with your kids? It is such a weak move, but JR, we see so many of them do it, dude. So many of them do it. And it's just pathetic. It makes me so mad.
It really does. And that's that's how I know, maybe not know, but that's how I start to believe if a coach is going to make it or not, right? Because just about every single team, when they come to Ohio State, they have a chance, whether they're down 2 scores or they're down 1 score, they have a chance to try something. Maybe it's not 4th and goal, but maybe it's, 4th and 2 from Ohio State's 30-yard line or something like that. They have a chance to do something to kind of show that they can do it enough. And if they don't do it, then I'm like, okay, this guy's he's not going to last at this school, whether it's whatever no name. I can't think of the last coach that did it, but there's obviously coaches there. I can't remember. Did Matt Rule do that? I don't think he did.
We saw one of the cream puff coaches do it. Who was it? Was it the Western coach? The Western Michigan coach did it, JR, and they missed their field goal too. And they deserved to miss it too.
Yep, you deserve no points. Actually, we shut out both of those teams, right?
We did. Yeah, we did. And this guy, Walters, missed 2. So
Yeah. You know what? Screw you. That's what
terrible.
All right, let's see what the chat is talking about a little bit. We'll do this like Juck does his roundabout time here. So I'll get after the Indiana.
I'm gonna Juck around.
Yeah. Let's Juck around really fast. Lisa says, good evening. I remember a few years ago when it all seemed like Klatt was praising our team. Now he's just a hater. Would you say he's a hater, Juck? I feel like he tries to suck up sometimes to the Buckeyes. This was the part I forgot to mention during the broadcast. Gus Johnson is talking about the offensive line for Ohio State. How awkward was it that he's saying, hey, Joel Klatt, why don't they ever have a Joe Moore winning offensive line? And Joel was like, you really want me to go there? And he's like, yeah, go there. And he's like, you realize who our audience is? Yeah, let's talk about it. And it's like, Joel, you act like Ohio State has had like 180-pound kids on the offensive line the past 2 years. Like, yeah, they haven't won a Joe Moore award, but guess what? 130 other programs haven't won a Joe Moore award the last 3 years. Like,
yeah, man. There are times though, I'm with you, where it does seem like here's the difference, JR. I think that he kisses up to Ryan Day. I think they're little buddies. I see him on the field and the way they shook hands the other day. It was like, that's an interesting little handshake to have between a head coach and an announcer like that. That's interesting. I think it's us. I think it's the Ohio State fan base that he doesn't like. And I think he likes to needle us.
Well,
I might too.
What'd you say? Sorry.
If I was in that position, I would probably have a fan base like Ohio State that I would needle to. I mean, right. I do that naturally on my show to other fan bases. So I get it.
Right. Well, and I think it's just kind of the natural part of being a broadcaster, being out there on social media and all that stuff, right? Like, if you are somebody that is putting yourself out there in the spotlight or whatever it might be, then like you're going to get people that don't like you, and you're going to have to make certain people don't like you. Like, for instance, on the Big Ten Huddle, I try to be as fair as I can possibly be to everybody. I try to be as fair as I possibly can. But at the end of the day, there are some times when I say one thing about a fan base and they just go off. They are completely against me. They're completely just out against it. And I'm like, guys, it really wasn't that big of a thing.
Yeah. I know how it goes, man. I usually though, when I say it, I'm intentionally like giving it a little extra. My audience is primarily one. You're dealing with a lot of different ones, trying to have to be fair and be even Steven. I don't need to do that.
Here's a good comment, Juck. Let's talk some recruiting. Are we landing defensive tackle Jakeem Stewart or what? Surely he's not going to LSU with Kelly and the dumpster fire. Things definitely not looking good after that Alabama game. But I think Jakeem Stewart's probably thinking a little bit more about Ohio State and Oregon. What do you think, Juck?
I think that if he leaves Louisiana, that we're in pole position right now. That's what I really believe. I think that him and Larry got a special thing going on, man. I just think it's different. I am also of the opinion that he doesn't leave Louisiana. That there's a certain amount of, like, Brian Kelly knows, I believe, that if that kid gets out of the state, just how destroyed he's going to be. And I just have a hard time believing they don't pull out every single stop. And by every single stop, you know what I mean? They also have a good relationship with him down there. The coach at LSU, the defensive line coach or one of the recruiting directors or something, real tight with his with Jakeem Stewart's like mentor or uncle or something, whoever the guy is that's in all the pictures that travels with him. I just see him ending up there, man. It's a tough pull. It's a really tough pull. And if anybody can do it, I think it's Larry. But, I'm not buying that Oregon's number one on this. I just am not doing it.
The thing I wonder is Larry back next year? Because, and I know that, people talk about it every year, and he's said before, like, people talk about, or I don't know if he said it, but people have talked about how people say almost every year, it seems like, and then he still comes back, like, so it's one of those things where it's like, I feel kind of bad saying it, I guess, because if I feel like I'm kind of jinxing it, but at the end of the day, he has to retire at some point. It's going to happen. It's a matter of when it does happen, right?
So I was under the impression that when he re-upped for that 2 years, that was like, all right, this is it. When this is complete, I'm done, which would take him through next season. And I don't think anything has changed. Well, you know what? Maybe something has changed from, maybe the re-engineering of the defense or something makes him accelerate that by a year. But I do feel like ultimately next year is the last one. And I think that's all Ryan Day wants, to be honest. And I think that's what most people, I don't know if most, maybe most of us who follow it day in and day out, I think that I get the vibe that most people are, okay, we're ready to have some fresh energy and fresh ideas. Larry's been fantastic over his career. Things have gone down steadily for the last 5 years.
I agree. All right, Juck, we have another caller with us. We have Sean with us. And then after that, we have another caller. So let's go ahead and bring Sean in here. Sean, how we doing tonight, man?
Oh, fantastic. How are you?
Okay. Doing great, Sean.
Awesome. So, going forward, a couple of things things that concern me right now. The offensive line has played well the last couple weeks, I guess. They've kind of overachieved. This is kind of a mishmash unit, though. I mean, like, can you really win if you have like no true tackles on your own line here? And I mean, like, will this scale well at all when we go up against teams that have legit dudes playing across? And that even includes Michigan. I mean, Michigan, I don't have any doubt that we'll beat Michigan, but they could give us some problems. Like that could be a game where it might take some little creativity to get the offense going.
Josiah Stewart is a very good edge rusher, and Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant have done a good job this season. I think that Chip can scheme stuff up well enough that it'll be good enough. But Juck, I'm curious on your thoughts. The offensive line, just overall.
So I've heard a lot of people call it, like you say, call it a mishmash unit. It's true. This was not the way it was intended. Donovan Jackson isn't a true tackle. I think he is kind of cracking the code to this gig pretty quick. I really do. We saw how Carson Hinsman played. It's not like he's some rookie getting tossed out there. Guy's got a ton of experience. When he came in spot duty earlier this season, the film on him sucked. It sucked. He was bad. And I was stunned by how good he played at Penn State. I felt like you're feeling before that game.
Yeah.
Coming out of that game, I felt totally different. And then he followed it up at Purdue. That left side of the line looked damn good. And obviously, they don't got dudes, but we're looking around here. Who are we looking at? Texas offensive line. They were supposed to be one of the best in the country. So was Georgia's. I saw Texas offensive line get destroyed by Georgia's. I saw Georgia's get destroyed by Ole Miss's. It seems to be a theme. And if the offensive line does end up getting destroyed by someone, can you counterpunch? Do you have enough, and I trust Chip to be able to bring that little extra to get you through it. But it seems like everybody's breaking down at quarterback, at offensive line. There's no great team. And that gives me confidence that even though this isn't perfectly put together, we're going to be in every game we play. We're going to be in it with a chance to win it. I really believe that.
Yeah, and it's always nice to have this level of explosiveness because just like the Nebraska game, the offense didn't have a good day at all.
Right.
But they landed 3 big shots, and it was enough to win. So, we're always in the game just because of having that capability. So yeah,
I agree, Sean.
We've added, Sean.
I'm sorry, what?
Let's look at what else we've just added recently. We've added some longer passes to the running backs. We've incorporated the tight end into the passing game. There is no place that they can't defend. There's no let's take away this. Ohio State has shown on film they'll beat you with every position on the field. And that's tough to defend, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was going to ask, what's going on with Hinsman at the beginning of the season? I mean, he was not even really in the rotation. It was like we were looking at Tigra, who has not played particularly well this year, and Austin Seyerveld, kind of battling out for playing time. And Hinsman was just sort of the odd man out. And now he's emerging as one of our best linemen.
Yeah, no, I agree. The rumor I've heard, and Juck, I don't know if you think this or not too. Like I said, it's just a rumor. I don't know if I believe it, but the rumor I've heard is like they were putting him right behind Seth McLaughlin, and they were hoping that, they wouldn't need him and he could just kind of keep repping center in practice and just kind of get excellent at it. Kind of like what they said with Tegra, where it's like, we don't want to move him away from guard. We want to make him better at it. I mean, that was kind of what I heard. Like I said, I don't know if I so much believe it. Juck, do you think it's possible they were doing something like that? Or do you think the suspension was just that long?
No, well, listen, the suspension, obviously, some people think that's a rumor. I thought that's where you were going. I 100% believe he was suspended. Like that's, okay. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
That's what I tend to believe as well, but I also heard the other thing. So
yeah, I think like anybody who argues against that, like I'll drop that argument in five points flat, and they'll have nothing to say. He was 100% suspended. But I don't think it lingered that much. I do think he was just not playing that good when they gave him the opportunity at right guard. When we saw in the spring, Luke Montgomery was running number 1 at right guard, practice number 11 of 12. All of a sudden, it was Tegra and Carson flip-flopping for number 1 heading to the spring game. Like, where the hell did this come from? I don't know. And then we get to the preseason. Hinsman gets sick. He lost like 40 pounds. I saw a picture of him. He looked skinnier than a tight end, and that pretty much took him out of the running. So they enter into the season with Tegra and Seyerveld, who had emerged, flip-flopping at guard, and they said, let's stick Carson behind Seth, let him learn, let him run there. And that's where they stood until we had the injury, and then opened it up. And apparently, and I really believe this, that they were just going with the experience for the Penn State game. And just by a stroke of luck, man, he was ready to go, and he sees that job. And I think that's what makes it so cool, because the ability to be able to do that, the test, I'm just, that's strength, man. That's internal strength. Like that makes me like proud to be a Buckeye. Like I love that. He took that job, man, and he ran with it. And I'm really rooting for him hard.
Right. Sean, we got 2 more callers behind us. So give us your final thoughts, and then
there was one little thing I wanted to touch on real quickly, because I've been interested in this for a while. Igbinosun just gets penalized way too much right here. Jermaine Matthews has been excellent every time I've seen him. He's not. I think he might be a better pure cover corner than Igbinosun. Yeah. And he's not nearly as big of a drive killer, of a liability out there as far as giving up stupid penalties and play. I mean, what's the thought on that? Like, why aren't we seeing Matthews out there possibly ahead of Igbinosun? Why isn't that even a discussion that I've heard?
Go ahead, Juck. I'll leave this one to you.
I mean, if we're just judging the 2 players, like, they both got strength and weaknesses. Jermaine is not, he's not good physically, like tackling. That's not good. You give up a lot when you take Iggy off with that. And they really like that. They really like that in their cornerbacks. So I think that plus the age, and how they are with the seniority. But I'm with you. Like those two, they're the give and take. Like they're even Steven for me, and I might lean towards Jermaine if I was picking them. That's kind of where I'd go. But it's just we're not seeing them every day. But they both got really good qualities, and then a couple, like you said, the penalties they're getting ridiculous. They really are.
Yeah.
I can't get through a single game without a penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, but I hope I mean, that doesn't seem like something you can really correct mid-season. Like you can't train, right? You can't train those habits out of a guy. They're just in the middle. So hopefully it doesn't come back to bite us in a critical moment. But we'll see.
Wouldn't that be something, man? Could you imagine if that happened in a really critical moment and everybody was pitching about it all season long?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we would have been national champions, except Davison had to put his hands in that guy's face.
Yeah.
Ugh. And I could see it happening too. So, no concern. All right.
Well, let's hope it doesn't. Thanks so much for calling in, Sean. We appreciate you being here.
Take care, guys.
See ya. Always love hearing from Sean. Great caller. We have this was the caller I've been waiting for. Here he is, Dr. Buckeye. David, Dr. Buckeye, how we doing tonight?
Is Dave on mute? Dave, you're on mute.
Dave's frozen on my screen.
Can you hear me all right?
Oh, no, Dave.
What's up, brother?
Are we good?
We're good.
All right. Well, this is a reunion of sorts.
Oh, Dave, the audio's cutting out.
Can you hear me all right? No, is this audio better?
Hey, Dave, this happened. Yeah. This happened. Oh, I think I got you.
You got me?
Say one more thing.
You got me? Do you have me or no?
Thought I had you.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
All right, David.
No, one more time.
Get out for 1 second and then come back. We're going to go to Tyler. We'll go to Tyler and then we'll bring you back on after Tyler, okay? Same thing happened to Juck earlier. So swap out and come back in. And we'll bring you in after Tyler, okay? Like I said, same thing happened to Juck, and it worked when he came back in. So, Tyler, you're here now. How we doing, Tyler?
I'm great, JR.
Oh, Tyler, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, Juck?
Good. How you been, man?
I've been great. I enjoyed my Veterans Day today. I'm doing my as a service member of this country.
Happy Veterans Day, buddy. Thank you.
No problem. But unfortunately today, I got to tell you about what happened at my when I went to get one of my free meals today. What is going on? So I was in the line and this Clemson, this guy was wearing a Clemson shirt, and JR, I had a weird feeling about this guy. I was looking at him like, there's something weird about this guy. Come to find out, he's also a Michigan fan. He shows me his phone. He's a Michigan fan, but he's also wearing Clemson shirt. I was like, dude, why are you talking to me? Your team is 500. So I just had to get that out. That was so. But this Buckeye team, I got a feeling. I told you this before, JR. I think that this team feels special.
I think so too. I think that there's a lot of special stuff about this team. The players coming back and everything like that. I was thinking maybe I'd feel like it was a little bit more special as the year went on, but I mean, it's still very special to me. What do you think, Juck?
I felt that way coming into the season. They lost me for a little bit there. I'll be honest. They lost me for a little bit. The lack of juice, the lack of passion, the lack of energy had me feeling like I'd been duped. I'd put way too much stock into them, and they won me back over at Penn State. They carried it on at Purdue. Now I feel like it was, somewhere along there, they got the message that something's turned around, and the energy that they brought to a team like Purdue, and that's a game where we've seen a lot of snoozers against teams like that this time of year. Mm-hmm. They brought it, and not just them. The crowd brought it too. I was really impressed. So it was really awesome, man. I was really happy to see that.
And the reason why I feel like this team feels special is all these other teams across college football, they all look like they're all beatable.
Oh, yeah.
So who really do you feel like? I don't feel like all these Oregon fans, they're not going to beat us a second time.
I definitely think the second matchup is going to be very telling. I think it's interesting that everybody seems to be picking them to win 3 times in a row, right? Like I saw somebody today, I think maybe it was Brett McMurphy, which, I'm sure that's just his dream for that to happen, but he picked Ohio State and Oregon to play again, and Oregon was number 1, and then play again in the playoffs and then win another time. And it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in one season.
It really is. But what about this Connor Stallions coaching up Bryce Underwood?
I'd love to know what self-respecting high school coach just brings on some rando in the playoffs. They're about to play the biggest game they've ever played, and he's bringing this guy in to be this massive distraction. How much can he possibly help? He can't help them at all. You know what I mean? It's like, what kind of high school coach would do this for this kind of publicity before this biggest game? Like, you would think he's locked in on this really important game, and he's got now all this attention coming around because of this antic, this ridiculous antic here. None of it makes much sense. I wouldn't be surprised if that head coach got paid quite a bit of money by somebody invested in the success of Michigan to get him in there for some. I don't know what the angle is, but there's something going on here.
What do you think, JR? What exactly this can't be real.
Oh boy, I got a lot of thoughts. I'll limit it to this. I think that Michigan is as desperate as they can be. I think that they have a few people who are throwing as much money as they possibly can at it. And I would not turn away the idea of somebody is paying the high school for Stallions to be on staff or something like that. I know it's kind of conspiracy theory, so I'm not going to, go out there and like preach it to everybody and say that's exactly what's going on. But it's too fishy to just think like, oh yeah, this guy was an interim head coach and he lost all his games 45-0. Yeah, let's bring in, is Ryan Day going to go to Ryan Walters and be like, hey, we killed you by 45 points, man, but you got fired. Come on in. You can be the DC. Like, no, that ain't happening.
If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And
yeah,
I just don't understand. If you are Connor Stallions, right? This is one of my biggest gripes with him. And this is the same with all people in the military too. If you're in trouble in the military, the best thing you can do is to keep quiet. Keep a low profile. Don't say anything. Be out of the limelight. Be away from. Have no attention. Connor Stallions is doing exactly the opposite. And the strange thing is, he was also in the military too.
But we know that was all because he just wanted to coach at Michigan, right? I mean, like this is not a guy who is doing things because he loves football. This is a guy because he wants to be a part of the team up north, right? Like, I don't know, Juck, do you have a different thought on that? Like, to me, everything, this guy wrote a manifesto. Yeah, everything he's doing is so that he can be with the team up north and to prop himself up. I mean, you think the same thing, Juck?
Absolute narcissist. Yeah. He just wanted to be, in the limelight somewhere. Michigan was what he wanted. I mean, I think he loves Michigan football, but this wasn't about saving the program. He wants to be the hero. He's some kind of hero in an action movie that plays in his mind. Like, that's what he is. That this whole spy operation, all of it. He thinks he's so smart. The way he talking about his manifesto being this competitive edge, and you look at it and you're like, dude, are you kidding me? I could compile this off the internet in 35 minutes. Like, it's ridiculous. But the fact that people are bringing him around, high school kids and stuff, it's become such a sideshow anymore. I don't even like talking about it, to be honest. It's just goofy.
I don't blame you. It's a circus.
Yeah,
it is. It is. Tyler, we got David ready to come back in. So why don't you give us your final thought, or if there's anything else you want to talk about before we get back to David?
All I got to say is we're gonna destroy Northwestern, and I have no ill will with Northwestern. Like they're just next on the next team.
There you go.
Unfortunately.
The next one in the way. All right, Tyler, we appreciate you calling in, man. Look forward to you calling in next time. Have a good one.
All right. OH.
I-O.
Very good. Thank you to Tyler. All right, let's try this again. David, I think it was my
Check.
fault last time. I think
Check,
it was
check.
I will take the blame. Yes, you're great. You
Sound
great.
check. Testing mic 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes. Perfect.
Oh, well, it's good to be back with a friend that I've known for a long, long time.
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, brother. Talking Ohio State football. No, man, I'd rather be doing it with other than you, Juck.
Thank you. So you too, buddy.
Yeah. It's two old heads that lived through the 90s. We had a lot of suffering at one time. So, we're suffering no longer, though. Let's be honest, brother, because that suffering will come to an end in late November. Let the bloodletting begin come late November. I want Woody go for 3 like every play. I want onside kicks. I want bombs. I want, everything. Complete destruction.
Theory, Dave. Like, what do you think? Do you think that Day is going to approach it like that? Absolute balls to the wall, foot on the throat. Do you think he will? I think he should.
Oh, absolutely. Juck, I want our pound of flesh here. We deserve our pound of flesh. Yeah. I mean, what the scumbags have been doing for the last 3, let's be real. If COVID never happens, does Jimmy still have a job?
No.
Let's be real. No, Jimmy doesn't have a job. He would have had another beat down in 2020 and it canned his ass. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. And, listen, I knew they would eventually get us 1 year. In 2021, believe you me, I kind of understood, Mickey's defense was exposed. It was exposed early against Oregon that year, and I was shaky about our defense going into that game, although we wasted an all-time great offense. The 2021 offense was ridiculously good. I actually still think the 22 offense would have been even better had JSN never gotten hurt, because one of the great combinations of all time would have been JSN and Marvin with Emeka as your third receiver and Stroud as your quarterback. I wouldn't say we would have been 2019 LSU in 22, but we'd have been freaking close.
I think so too. Yeah.
We'd have been freaking close. I did want to give some thoughts about this team and on to it. I heard my buddy Juck try and make a comparison before the season to the 2019 Buckeyes. I don't know if I was ever willing to go as far as my friend was with this team. Although the good news about this year, I will say, my friend, is there's not a 2019 LSU out there that we got to worry about.
There we go.
So that's the biggest thing about that year, is that there was nothing wrong with the 2019 team. I actually think the 2019 team will probably be remembered. Juck, where would you rank that team in the history of Ohio State teams you've seen?
Gosh, man, top 5, right? I mean, it was such a great team. Such a great team. I want to do this one time. I want to work this out and kind of go through official rankings and get this down. I'm going to do a show on this, Dave.
I'll give you mine real quick. I'll give you the top 5 rosters I've seen at Ohio State since '86 when I first started watching them. 2005 Ohio State, which I still believe is the best team of the Tressel era. That was the closest thing that Tressel ever had to an Urban Meyer roster. He had 9 first-round draft picks on that team, including 5 first-round draft picks that year. The best linebackers in the history of the Tressel era in Hawk, Carpenter, and Schlegel. The best receivers of the Tressel era in Holmes, Ginn, and Gonzalez, who were all first-round draft picks. And the best quarterback in the history of the Tressel era, which was Troy Smith. Underrated tailback in Antonio Pittman, and a really good secondary in Nate Sally, Dante Whitner, and Ashton Yabodi. Probably, I still think even better than the 02 team, if I had to think about it. But they ran into the greatest Texas team of all time. And Ryan Hamby can't catch a touchdown pass in a damn end zone. Don't get me started on that one. But I would put up 95 up there, which I still think is probably one of the 2 or 3 best offenses I've ever seen at Ohio State. Tell me a team that had the best offensive lineman, the best running back, and the best wide receiver in the country. 1995 did, in Terry Glenn, Orlando Pace, and Eddie George. Bobby Hoying had a great year. Ricky Dudley, first-round pick. Vrabel and Springs on defense. Where would you put 98? I have not. I'm struggling to either put 98, 2, or 3.
I have the relationship I had with the 90, just where we were at in our lives at that age.
Yes.
I have such an affinity for that team just because I feel like that was like, I don't know. It might have been my age. It might have been how into the team I was that particular year. Memories with my brother. I love that team. Like that to me is, I think it might be my personal favorite team of all time. I just love that team.
It's up there. It's up there. I freaking Saban. He'll never. I mean, who knew at the time he was Saban?
It's so ironic, isn't it? It really is. It's just unbelievable that that's what happened to that team.
Yeah. And we'd have kicked the shit out of T. Martin on a neutral field in Tennessee. Don't give me that garbage. We'd have ended that SEC drink. And then the other two teams I would put up there would be 15 and 19. 15 might still be the most talented roster I've ever seen at Ohio State.
I'd have to agree with you on that. 15. Unbelievable. What an unbelievable disappointment. The thing that's different about 15, you look at 98 was such a crazy talented roster too. But 15, it was the attitude that they were full. You know what I mean? They were full and they were moving on. So I don't have the connection with that team. Like I was just so irritated by the way that they played. Yeah.
They wasted talent.
Everything. Yeah.
I mean, Titty Bar Tom had to go to Houston and take that job. If he was running that offense instead of those two idiots that were running that offense that year, they'd have ran Zeke. They'd have kicked the crap out of Sparty. And I think they could have went back to back and really dug a really good hole in the history of Ohio State football. I did want to get to this team. I know we got sidetracked. I know you guys probably on a short timetable here. So couple thoughts. And Juck, I haven't heard you address this, and I don't think we addressed this on the Buckeye show my last couple calls. Is there any concern with Will Howard's deep ball, or is that overblown?
I find it very irritating. Like for instance, it seems to me like and you look at this last one to Tate down the sideline the other day.
Yeah.
When you watch it, I probably watched it 4 times. The way it looks like he stopped and just kind of delivered it in a different way. And it just looks like now it's in his head, which really bothers me because I feel like he's hearing it and now it's in his head. But man, and then I hear other people talking about his stats on 25-yard balls per PFF or 6th best in the country. Get out of here with that. I don't want to hear that nonsense. He's not good at it. Okay. Let's not pretend like we got a PFF stat that's going to support this argument now. Okay. He's not good down the field, but I don't think it's a big deal. When I look at it, I look at for instance, that touchdown percentage in the red zone being number 1 in the country. Give me that stat over deep balls any day of the week. I'll be number 1 at that one. JR, where are you at on it?
My thing is I just look at the rest of college football and I say, who is, substantially better? I think Cam Ward is better. I think that Curtis Rourke is better. I think, I haven't watched enough G5 guys to know if one of those guys is better. But there's really not too many guys in college football that are better than he is at throwing the deep ball. So for me, I look at every year kind of as its own thing. Like CJ Stroud was the best deep ball thrower I ever saw in, Ohio State uniform. One of the best I've ever seen in college football. Joe Burrow might be the only one who was better in my mind. But
Cardell Jones for 3 games, maybe.
Cardell Jones, and it really helped that Devin Smith was, the amazing Devin Smith.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He
Love
was
Devin.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But I just look at all of college football as a whole, and I just think quarterback play is down this year.
Yeah,
in
you're
college
right.
football, we thought
100%.
Quinn Ewers was going to be amazing, and he got pulled in the Georgia game. We thought Carson Beck was going to be a first-round pick, and my word, he's got the Cavender kiss of whatever, kiss of jinx or whatever. I don't know what it is, but he's not doing well. And so for me, it's maybe there's another 1 or 2 guys out there that throw the deep ball better than Will, but for the most part, there's nobody that stands out to me as this great deep ball thrower. So if Ohio State can move the ball down the field kind of methodically and, he can throw Will Howard can throw a good intermediate 10 to 20 yard ball, that's fine with me. Would I like to see more? Sure. But I'm not going to get too upset about it.
Guys, I think there's 2 quick things with it. I think number 1, the fact that we have the receivers that we have, And the fact that Jeremiah can run by people and he can do what he can do, I think people want to see the deep ball at least every now and then. And I still think it's good to have in our bag, especially to keep the defense honest. I mean, I love the fact when we run the ball, get a first down or two, cross midfield, play action, go downtown. That to me is ideal. And the other thing I think that the fans kind of worry about is if we get into a tough playoff game. You know what I mean? Or, down the road. Can he hit one of those throws when we need it, when we're in the playoffs or something like that? I think those are the two things that come to mind why I think people are kind of in their feelings about it.
Let me give just one more thing, David, and then Juck. I want your thoughts on this, Juck. So for me, Chip Kelly is so good at dicing up the RPO, and Will Howard has struggled with the decision-making a little bit this season, but, I mean, let's be honest. There's so much decision-making he has to make all the time. He's not going to be perfect. But for the most part, he's done a very good job, I feel like. I don't think there's a defense in the country that can stop Chip Kelly's RPO consistently. For me, if Ohio State's offense is going to stall out, it's going to be because Ohio State made mistakes. Penn State's defense couldn't stop it. I don't think that team up north defense is going to stop it. Georgia, I don't think their defense is going to be able to stop it. I mean, the offensive line does give me a little bit of concern, but they've been playing better lately, so I can't say I'm too concerned about it. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm looking out through the rest of college football. I don't know if there's a single team they're going to play where Will Howard has to hit 5 or 6 deep balls in a game. What do you think, Juck?
No, not hit 5 or 6. But I am with Dave that I do want to see them, take a couple shots. You need shot balls to keep them honest. You just have to have them. And
That's
with
right.
JJ and with Carnell, you're going to hit a couple of those, even if he's not throwing a great ball, like you almost did with Carnell. Carnell had to come to a dead still stop. That's how bad he beat his man. He was able to come to a total stop and still get the ball in the breadbasket. Probably should have had it. I bet he's mad that he didn't. But no, you got to have those, at least be able to take them. When I look at this offense, guys, now that they've incorporated throwing the ball to Trey and Quinn, and now that they've got G involved in the passing game, which thank God, because he's nothing as a blocker. If you got him out there, you best at least throw him the damn ball, right?
Right.
So now that they've got that, you've literally got every position is lethal at everything on the offense. And man, nobody's going to stop them. If they get stopped, they're stopping themselves. That's what I think.
Yeah, they have to take some serious penalties or turnovers or something like that. Totally agree. Hey, I got a chance to watch Indiana for only the second time this week. Obviously saw the debacle they had, the pasting of Nebraska they had, and then watched them against Scum this week. And, they looked, I thought for the first half, obviously looked really good. And then I'll tell you what, their defensive line up north took over in the second half, and they really couldn't do much. Although Scum's offense with Warren is obviously very limited. We know that. I mean, that guy can't hit the broadside of a barn. I don't know how many open receivers he was missing, but it was a lot. And, he
hit the ref, though, David. He hit the ref.
That's true. And is that progress for a Scum quarterback, hitting the ref? I mean, you can't hit receivers, so you hit the ref.
He's hitting something,
But no, I just kind of your guys' thoughts on them. I mean, I like Rourke. I think Rourke's like a solid college quarterback. I don't know if he's like an NFL guy, but I think he's like a solid college quarterback. I think their skill is decent. I don't know if it's great, but I think it's pretty good. I keep on going back and forth. Would they be better than Penn State on a neutral field? I definitely don't think they're better than Oregon on a neutral field. Forget that. But if they played Penn State I probably would still favor Penn State over them. But I don't know, you guys' overall thoughts on them.
You go ahead, Juck.
Listen, I was really thinking that they were going to be a little bit better against Michigan. I thought that they had it going on. And when in the first half, I'm like, wow, man, these guys are really that good. And then that second half came and I just watched them physically get worn down and realized they're not ready yet. They're not ready for this. They're not ready for us. They're not ready for Penn State. They don't got what it takes up front. And I just think that's where it ends.
Trenches, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
They just got beat up. They got worn down. They got ground down, man. It was it. They were done.
Yeah, Scum's D line still, though, with those D tackles and Stewart, have some guys that can play, though, to be fair.
For sure.
And I think
for sure.
TJ Guys is pretty good off the edge on the other side as well. He's gotten some good pressure in there. I don't know what he'll do against Josh Fryer. I think Josh Fryer has quietly had a very good season.
Fryer's come up,
yeah, especially with what people were expecting from him. But yeah, I honestly think if Davis Warren had a competent offensive line, he could be an okay quarterback. You know, I'm not saying he'd be like one of the best quarterbacks in the nation or anything like that, but
No.
I feel like he could be an okay quarterback. He's got some good arm talents, nothing great, but he's got some good arm talent, and he's hit some guys. But in that Indiana game, man, that Kamara dude who is leading the nation in tackles right now, oh my word, he's gonna have nightmares about that guy after the way he was running at him. He had no time back there. He was constantly stressed out, and I mean that's what happens when you have a terrible offensive line, and I mean that's what the team up north has.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I don't think's talked enough about them with, the debacle at quarterback is I don't think their offensive line is that Joe Moore offensive line that we've seen, that they had in previous years. I think
it's nothing compared to that. The pass, we saw last year where they just completely abandoned the passing because they couldn't do anything against Penn State. It's been even worse this year, the pass blocking, and yeah, it's evident.
Yeah, I think we can still beat Indiana by 2, maybe 3 scores at home. I would be confident by something in that neighborhood. But you know what, though? I tell you what, for them, they go 11-1, maybe make the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game. They should hold celebrations up there. That would be maximizing their talent.
Absolutely. And I, you know what? I'm rooting for them to make that playoff. Obviously, I also think, Dave, 17-point win, about the way I'm feeling about that game.
That sounds about right. Yeah. I said this to Mark. I don't know what you guys think, though. Can Siggs do it for one more year, though, next year? I still got to see it. I'm not saying he's going Mike Norvell next year when that roster flips over and they lose some of that James Madison talent there. But let's see. I want to see him at least go 8-4 next year. So.
I think that would be an acceptable record to say, okay, this is legit, right? If you can get back to 8 wins, losing all those guys, I'm really curious to see what they're going to give him to work with as far as hitting the portal in the offseason to try and bring some guys back in. How much are they going to be able to muster up? How much do they want this? You know what I mean? Now that they got a taste, how much do they want it? How much do the Indiana fans want it? It sounds like, I mean, JR lives in Indiana. What do you think, man? Are they like NIL donors now? Are they really getting into this?
Got that cash?
Indiana's had a very good NIL for basketball. They brought in a number of good players. So if they can reallocate some of that or just get more funding to the football program, I think they can do a good job. I think that the biggest benefit for them is they're not necessarily going to have to go after some of those big, huge NIL dollar guys. I think that Cignetti does have an eye for talent. I think that he has a good strategy. He's not like Dion where he's going to bring in 50 guys from the transfer portal and just, kind of shotgun it and hope he gets a good starting lineup. I think that he's very intentional about who he brings in. So do I think they're going to have the same year next year where it's 11-1? I think that is, very, very big aspirations for that to happen. That doesn't seem likely, but do I think this can be an 8-4, 9-3 team that, pulls off an upset and kind of keeps people saying, oh yeah, Cignetti, he's got it rolling? I definitely think that can happen. We'll have to see who he brings in and stuff like that. But yeah, I like Cignetti a lot. I think that he's going to do a good job. The favorite picture I had of him, did you guys see the picture during the Michigan State game?
No, I did not. Okay. He's kind of an interesting
you
guy.
Talk for a second, David. Okay. I'll bring up the picture. Okay.
Just real quick, did you guys see him interviewed after the game? He's kind of different. You know what I mean?
100%. He is really, really out there at times. Like I'm just like, is he messing with people when he's talking to them, or is he really just this odd? Because he's an odd cat, man. And when people were talking about want him as the Ohio State coach, and I'm just like, dude, I don't know. That guy's he's a little odd, dude.
No, he is. Well, he's a Pennsylvania guy. He's got that no BS kind of mentality to him, which I like. And I like that. Yeah, I said that to Mark over the weekend. I think that comes across to his players and is genuine, and they respect that, which is cool.
For
All
sure.
right, I got it here for you, David. You ready for this?
Yeah, sure.
This is my favorite picture of Kurt Cignetti.
That's a Cignetti picture right there. That's cool.
He looks as mad as can be, man. It's 40-10, and he's about to rip his players a new one in the locker room, man.
Yeah, that's a little bit of Sabanish there too. Remember how Saban would never be happy even when his team was killing people. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, let's see him do it for a couple years. Even Allen had a good year in the COVID year, but you know what I mean? Although he had Penix though, that year. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right,
well,
David, final thoughts before we get you out of here?
Hey, I'm excited. I think this team is definitely headed the right direction. I agree with Juck. I think 17 to 20 points against IU sounds about right, especially at home. Maybe if it was there, I'd be a little bit more hesitant on picking that big of a spread. I want 60, 70. I want urban level last game against the scumbags. I am so tired of those people. It's time for them to go back to the Rich Rod years, to the Brady Hoke years, and just be, nobody gives a crap about them. I don't care how much Portnoy cash they're going to get. I don't give a shit. I just want them to suck again.
I love it. Dave, thanks for calling in, brother.
Pleasure. Let's do this again sometime soon, guys.
Absolutely.
Take care, guys.
Later, buddy. JR, you're on mute, bud. JR.
Sorry. I was looking up something and I forgot I was muted. Always appreciate David being in here. We appreciate you calling in. I was trying to pull up a picture. My brother-in-laws went to the game this weekend, and there were all kinds of signs about how Michigan were cheaters all over the IU campus. And so I was going to show the Buckeye fans, but I forgot to load them up into
Oh, that's awesome. So me and Dave been friends since we were teenagers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You guys go to school together and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, we're from the same city.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We love when David calls in. Always has a lot of good thoughts.
Dude, that guy is the biggest character you'll ever know. I mean, like top 5 all time. Just like, dude, you said that dude's a character. Rooms just roll when Dave's around. Like the funniest guy ever. You can see some of it here when he's talking football, but he's like that with everything. Like just like, is that right? Oh, is that? I can't stop laughing around him. He's the best.
He was the caller that I always wanted to listen to on the late night call-in shows on Mark Rogers, because he always brought so much, just like levity and the way he spoke. And, some people get nervous when they come in on these call-in shows, and that's not a bad thing. But David, he's like a part of the podcasters once he
yeah.
So. All right. Well, that was our last caller, Juck. I think we've done a good job tonight. We're an hour and 15 in, and we normally stick around for about an hour. So, Juck, I'll give you the last word before we get out of here. Anything else on your mind you want to get to before we head out?
Well, just hoping that we can go out to Northwestern. Everybody stays healthy. The field stays down as much as possible. Nobody runs into a brick wall. We get a nice 30-point win. Cover the spread. Good teams win. Great teams cover. And keep it on a rolling. Thank you so much for having me, brother.
I appreciate it, Juck, and I appreciate everybody being here listening. We appreciate you. Have a good one.